Each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your host, Keith Varney.
Out of practice.
And Obi-Wan Indiglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
One of us has a haircut. The other one's cut his own hair for the last 2 years.
Out of practice.
Well, I'm getting a haircut because this is a thing.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly podcast in which me and my old buddy Mike, you know what we do? At this point, you know what we do? We discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are all the way up to Season 7, Episode 17. It is a title that feels oddly appropriate to all of our lives right now. It is entitled Burnout. But here we are. We are recording this on December 30th. Only 2 days left in 2001, or 1 day left in 2001. Got through the holiday. How's it going, Mike?
Hectic. We had a great holiday, great week off. I was looking forward to another nice weekend off. The plans have changed. So I'll give you the brief rundown of what I'm about to attempt to pull off.
Yes, I am mystified and excited.
So we've enumerated many times on the podcast. I work, one of my secondary jobs is I sing with this guest entertainment group that does cruise ships and land gigs. And, I just got off a cruise a few weeks ago, but that was prior to the giant, Omicron, gargantuan takeover of the globe right now.
I'm just throwing my lights around while you're talking, just so you know, just in case you're wondering what's going on over there.
And apparently, we work with a variety of cruise lines. I'm not part of all of the politics behind the scene, but apparently, one of the lines that we had an issue with at one point, or something happened that we don't work with anymore, is Princess Cruise Lines. Princess is a decent line. Anyway, apparently, one of their amidst this current cruise they're having, my assumption is that one of the groups they had slated to perform for the end of this cruise, it's like an 18-day cruise, and the last 4 days are coming up. Either that group got COVID or couldn't get on the ship because of something happened that they needed an emergency replacement act. We got the call because our other groups are out. Our other dudes are all across the country doing different gigs or different boats. The only person available to do the track I do, the Frankie Valley track, is me. And so he called and he's like, can you do this? I'll make it worth your while. And so what I've got to do is basically... And I have to do all of this unscathed. So step one is I have to get a COVID test tomorrow morning.
Right.
That has to be negative, right? It's a 15-minute test.
Naturally, yes.
Yeah. So if I pop a positive, there's no reason why that couldn't be possible. I mean, anything's possible.
No, yeah.
Then this is all moot because I'm not going anywhere at that point. Should I pass that test, I then have to go to New York City via train, then go to Newark Airport and take a plane from Newark to Miami, Florida.
Great. Always a good place to go during an outbreak.
Then go from Florida to Cartagena, Colombia. Get on a boat with 1,800 other people. Travel through the Panama Canal to Panama. 2 nights there. And then we go to Jamaica for a day or so. And then fly back from Jamaica back to Newark, back to Pennsylvania, somehow healthy. When you texted me some of this, I was like, you know what? I'm starting to no longer buy this. I'm not sure that I buy this whole thing that you're up to, and I have a
conspiracy theory.
Do tell.
This the jet-setting schmerzy schmoys, I don't buy it. I think Mike might be a secret agent. I think Mike might be possibly a hitman for the CIA under the cover of doing a fake schmerzy schmoys, hopping all over the planet on a cruise ship singing musical theater. I don't know.
Well,
he looks like the Unabomber today.
Let me just say that I will neither confirm nor deny said accusation.
Yeah. So, wow, that is quite the thing.
It's a lot.
Quite the thing you've got going on there. Yeah.
And because I was so eager to help, and the truth is that like Princess apparently has the best internet, like up to 50 megs down on board. So I was like, I can pull this off with work, no problem.
Yeah.
But I said yes and put all of the stuff. What's the word? All of the wheels in motion well before I put any thought to the fact that like, oh yeah. And look, once again, we've said this before. I'm not petrified of like getting very sick, right? I've done everything I've done. I've gotten all 3 of my shots. I feel relatively safe. But the bigger concern is in the very plausible event that like I pop a positive test on board.
Yeah.
What happens to me?
Yeah.
They don't let me fly back to America.
For at least some time, although the
now if I can close one eye
but...
and hold my cough for 6 minutes, maybe they'll let me through.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. No, that's no. I mean, and we all just white knuckled our way through the holidays. I mean, going up to see my folks was it was a little scary. We between the two of us, we had 5 negative tests over 3 days, and we did everything that we possibly could. But still, yeah. I mean, we had such a great time, but I'm a little relieved to be done. Yeah. And like you, I'm not concerned for myself necessarily, because like I said, we're triple shot, we're careful, we already had it. So, but I'm nervous for other people. And so that is that's what we're all going through. But actually, speaking of my mother, guess what? We have a objection from my mom.
Objection!
That's the most loser thing anyone's ever said.
There will be an appeal.
I used to say that the only one who listens to my stuff is my mother, ironically. But now it's just, just is what it is.
You know how it's getting bad, Keith, is when CEO Jen, our most avid listener, is like, I'm getting a little couple weeks behind.
Oh, no. That's you know what that is? I think that's a sign of progress for her. I feel like if I were her therapist, I'd be like, you're doing good. You're doing a little better.
All right, let's hear from your mom.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, we discussed a trip down that my parents did with my younger brother, Scott. And we went to the aquarium, we went to one of Scott's hockey games, we went bowling, we showed some pictures from that. And I mentioned on the way home that one of the wheels got loose. And they had to stay the night there in however far they got. And then they realized that the lug nuts had been taken off. And we posited that most likely somebody was trying to steal her tire, decided that it wasn't worth it, that it was the wrong size, or for whatever reason, got interrupted for whatever reason. And that is what happened, and we had never discussed that. Well, let me tell you, my mother tells me she's listening to it. She's also a couple weeks behind, congratulations, and was walking through the woods and heard our theory and was like, no, that's not right. That can't possibly be right. And so she's like, no. The theory was, and we were driving back, we didn't leave from Coney Island. We were leaving from Connecticut, where Scott's hockey game was. And our theory was that somebody had tampered with the car, because of the peace flag we had in the back in the run-up to the war. And that they were convinced that that is what had happened. And I said, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all because
that sounds like some lefty propagandist bullshit.
Yeah, see? And so she thinks it was that. And I'm like, no, that's not how I remember it. I'm pretty sure you left from Coney Island, and I don't think that was a thing. And she's like, nope, that was that. Well, guess what, Mom? Surprise! I found the emails from that time. I've got her emails. And
Russia, if you're listening.
Right, Putin, if you're listening, we got your email. So guess what?
You know, that is something Trump would do. He would be petty enough to like find your mom's old emails just to
I found your
screw
mom's
with
old
her.
emails. Turns out she's a liar. She's a complete, total liar. She said it was Connecticut. No, it was New York. Okay, New York, the great state. That's where I'm from. Everyone says it's great. You know, people say Connecticut's nice, but you know what? They're wrong. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, that's Connecticut, but that that says everything you need to know about
Harry
Nancy Pelosi.
Reid deserved it.
Yeah, right. I didn't kill Herman Cain. Oh wait, I did. All right.
He laughed, but guess what? It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, so guess what? I have the emails that you sent describing what happened, and guess what? You did leave from Coney Island. You did not mention the peace flag. In fact, in what I said, it seems like we took it out before we even got to Coney Island. Took it out of the window. So now it was definitely you were driving from Coney Island, not from Connecticut. And my point, as we were having dinner, I was like, do you really think somebody who is going to vandalize your car over a peace flag has the sophistication and the wherewithal to loosen your lug nuts as opposed to break a window? And also, not take them off, but to loosen them in this very, clever way so that it kills you on the road? It goes to attempted murder.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, because you're then... Somebody who's like, they're for peace and I'm not for peace is more likely to key your car than to attempt to murder you.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. And besides which, they would also have to, A, have the time to do it, and be just randomly carrying around a the tool to loosen your lug nuts. So
well, let's leave it here because we gotta progress. But let's leave it here, dear person who I'm sure is listening that tried to kill Keith's mom.
Yes.
First of all, shame on you. Very nice lady, really likes me, which proves to you that she's very nice.
Fool me once, shame on you.
Number
Fool
two,
me twice, don't get fooled again.
You win. All right, there is no peace. So there you go.
Yeah, way to go. You did it.
Congrats. All right. Keith, by any chance, has anyone else had anything to say on our week off?
Oh, you mean here on the...
Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas.
Indeed, we have a new friend on the YouTubes.
The context is unclear.
It
but
looks like Gorbachow.
I like Gorbachow better. I picture Gorbachev with a dog's head, but the same little thing in his head.
Gorbachow. No, that's his line of dog food.
Yeah, yep.
Get your Gorbachow dog chow. Your dog will love it. And he will make sure to get exactly the same amount as all the other dogs. Wow, that's terrible.
This episode brought to you by Gorbachow. Is your dog a communist? Buy him Gorbachow. All proceeds.
Nancy Pelosi's dog totally eats Gorbachow.
All proceeds will be distributed equally.
Who says, commented on our holiday video, we enjoy it too. Happy holidays.
I assume they don't mean the show. They just mean the holidays, right? We enjoyed the week off is what they enjoyed.
They probably enjoyed the week off. Yes, indeed. And of course, we heard from our moderator. So I apologize for mangling your name and then doing a 5-minute runner on it. But,
it's worth it. Hashtag Gorbachow.
Phoenix Cage, of course, writes, we had a discussion the last proper episode that we did about whether or not Bobby was better off with Helen or with Lindsay. And Phoenix Cage says, Bobby's relationship with Helen was so much more interesting. They should have stuck with it because it would have led to some compelling dialogue between them when he was defending someone who was clearly guilty and she was prosecuting someone the team knew was innocent. Wait, did I just agree with Keith again?
New year.
Mike, I might need the name of your new therapist because I am apparently having an identity crisis over here. Is it possible that I actually am Tom Brady? No, that's ridiculous. I'm the same person I've always been. I'm Mike's mom. Thank you for that, Phoenix. It's very funny. We have a very funny fan
It's
base.
true.
I gotta
Absolutely
tell you. All right. Well, I haven't actually checked our email, so I'm gonna do that right now and see if anybody said no. No, they did not. Okay.
People are busy. They're busy stuffing their faces with food.
It's the holiday season. Uh-oh, I gotta cut my hair. I'm doing the hair curtains thing today. That's gonna be what we do. All right. Well, you know what? Speaking of hair, Mike's got a haircut. So it is time to hop back into the time machine and talk about what we were doing on March 24th, the year 2003. And you say the March 24th, the year 2003, that sounds familiar. I feel like I might have lived through that maybe once in 2003 and then perhaps again on last week's episode. And to this I say, you were right. Because this episode and the previous episode were aired back to back on ABC Monday night. So, Mike, you better have a backup plan for March 24th. You better have done more than one thing in
This day in the basement.
Well, Keith, not so much. I will just say I was still living in Harlem. It was very cold. And I'll tell a funny story about one time that I saw this guy, and he had a crazy haircut. It was very cold outside, and he was walking up and down the street. Crazy haircut, going straight up like this, like a top, high top, but very high top. And I remember joking to my friend Jason at the time. I was like, hey, he looks like Kid from Kid and Play. Remember Kid and Play? If you don't, kids listening, go check out Kid and Play. Long story short, turns out it was Kid. He was hosting Showtime at the Apollo, which was I could look out my window and see the top of the Apollo. And he was actually carnival barking for Showtime at the Apollo. It was like a special night or whatever, and he was walking up and down the street, and we had a good laugh about it. And this concludes the worst This Day in the Basement I have ever done.
Have you had a long day carnival barking like a dog? Then have GORBACHOW. GORBACHOW, the most delicious chow out there. Every kibble tastes like the next one. All right.
It's not enough, but it'll have to do.
You'll get by. If you save a potato under your mattress, you'll be fine. Actually, you know what? I say that as I tease as a avowed, democratic socialist. So here I am.
Mr. GORBACHOW, chase down this ball.
Wow.
And then their podcast shifted to entirely into dog puns for weeks on end.
Shifted? Wow. All right. Well, you know what? As we are clearly doing an episode on geopolitical issues, I, in those emails, realized that, guess what? Of course, I mentioned last week, here we are in the run-up, not the run-up, we started the war with Iraq. And it was a great idea, and it went great. But just
Great
2
war,
days...
perfect war.
It was amazing. It was beautiful. We got all the palaces. So we got all the palaces. I ain't gonna tell that guy. You go after my daddy. I'm gonna blow up your palaces.
Does anybody have like a half hour of just rabbit hole to go down? Because Google what has happened to that quote-unquote big, beautiful wall and where all of those miles-long giant slats that cost billions of dollars are just sitting somewhere. Because that's happening.
Yes, that's happening. Anyway, so I realized that I didn't remember that it was then. I thought it was in the summer, but this was when I was marching in the giant anti-war protests on March 22nd, 2003. This is a picture from the New York City march, but it was all over the world. Millions of people marched, and it was unseasonably warm. I think that's what it was that I remember. But didn't run into any issues. It was entirely peaceful, at least in the portion that I was there. So I sent an email. I didn't remember doing it, but there you are. Sometimes all the marches blend together, but that was probably one of the first big marches I was in New York City, not the last. Anyway, so that's what I was doing. Now, a little bit of a spoiler alert, because you might remember from last week, but it's time for...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Well, folks, it was still March 24th, so we were still listening to In Da Club, 50 Cent. And, of course, we were watching Bringing Down the House, the Steve Martin Queen Latifah film, which still made $31 million that week. And the Burlington Free Press still featured my grandparents in their own war protest at the Capitol. Yeah. So that was what happened. Spoiler alert, this is a new YouTube clip. Who is the artist on that?
This is The Blossoms with their Indie Club cover performing at the Live Lounge. This has 500,000 views, so it's not our general type of cover, but it's the only thing I could pull up that fast.
Okay, well, very, very good. Now it's time for...
It's time for sports ball.
As this is a repeat date from last week, here are some season stats for the Boston Hockey Bruins. Joe Thornton led the team in scoring with 101 points and 36 goals and 45 assists. Next up was Glenn Murray with 44 goals and 48 assists. The team started 5 goalies over the season with Steve Shields as the starter. Interesting, the 2 goalies at the bottom were Andrew Raycroft, who was traded for a current starter, Tuukka Rask, and future playoff MVP, Tim Thomas. All right, guys, there's a haircut coming, so we need to do... Oh, my God. You know, the menu came up, and I couldn't hit it, and we've got a big problem.
I'm not gonna take this anymore. It's time to talk about
I was like a whole step and a half too low still.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear what you said there. I'm assuming it's amazing. So, this episode entitled Burnout has a story and teleplay by David E. Kelly and a story by none other than Christopher Reeve. The only other writer credit he has is for Superman 4. And was directed...
Superman 4 and 1 episode of The Practice?
That is right.
That's the most random fact we've uncovered in all 7 seasons.
Well, here I am. He contributed the story to both of those things and nothing else. And was directed by Christina Musri, who last directed Down the Hatch, which leaves me with only one important question.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
Yes.
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Keith, everything has changed now since I know my boy C. Reeves is here.
Well, we know he wrote some of it.
You know, my Christmas was basically ruined because Bobby and Lindsay have discovered, it turns out they don't love each other. Well, at least that's what Lindsay says. Lindsay. I mean, Bobby's been nothing but wonderful to you.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, the preceding statements were nothing but falsehoods. But Keith, you know what? We're going to jump the shark so far that we're going to loop back around. And Chris Reeves, I predict, is writing us one of the greatest episodes of reconciliation ever written in television.
Whoa.
We're going to have to split the oopsie between Dylan McDermott and Kelly Williams because they both give tour de force, emotionally wrought performances where they come to realize they've both been being terrible to each other and that they need each other, and they live, and they by the end of the episode, they reconcile. Unfortunately, the only thing that could mar it is that yet a new, as yet to be discovered serial killer stalks Lindsay, and the episode ends with Lindsay under siege once again.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Folks, are you concerned about a shark jumping all over your life? Well, the shark's not going to eat you. If it's full with GORBACHOW, the most delicious communist dog food you can get out there. It seems like a good idea, but it never quite works. All right, go to your podcast ear thing. You know how it is. We'll see you back for the oopsies.
Yeah. And we are back, baby.
Oh my God. Wow. There it is, folks. This OOPSY Awards is brought to you by GORBACHOW Life Protection Formula. There it is. It's delicious. It's nutritious. Is it half sawdust? Maybe. All right.
Boy.
Yikes. All right. Well, folks, it is time to have Mike recap our episode here very fast in a segment we call
2, 3, 4. Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show. Segment.
Y'all, Chris Reeves is on the episode, and guess what? His wife killed his brother. It's so sad, but it turns out he might have been like maybe hooking up with his brother's wife, and maybe she did it, but we don't know. Yeah, we do. That's what happened. In the other case, Jaime is dealing with some personal drama, and as she has to defend a client who got Philadelphia'd by the law firm for being raped.
And don't forget what Bobby's up to.
Yo, Bobby be cheating with some lady who ain't having it.
Yes. Okay, Mike, do it again, but faster.
Okay. Keep the third lines for you in this one, but here we go.
Okay.
Victim needs LinkedIn. Banging Superman's brother? Eleanor Fletcher.
Ooh, very good. Eleanor Fletcher. There it is. Well, excellent. Now it is time to hand out some fake awards. I bet you there's an intro.
The Out of Practice Podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Well, Jackie, they're a fake award show that begins every week with... Brought to you by GORBACHOW. It's dog food.
You know what? Good copy and good marketing is all about just simplify.
Clarity,
You know what I mean?
clarity.
Just clarity, simplification of message. It's GORBACHOW. It's dog food. Holy crap. All right. So I think that, Jaime, that was not a tough motion to win, but it wasn't yeah, I think it's got to be Jaime, because when you really boil it down, Eleanor lost. I was so ready for her to win, but no, she lost. And the real winner there is Chris Reeve and his new relationship. God bless. Have fun. And so I think Jamie Stringer this week, not only, yes, it was good for her personally to have some cathartic growth emotionally. However, as Eugene points out, it sets potentially a good precedent for victims moving forward. Maybe a slippery slope, but I think ultimately well done by her, because she was able to keep her emotions in check enough to really put together quite a great motion.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I disagree with there is that it was an easy thing to win. That was a really difficult thing to win, because she really is, as the judge pointed out, setting up the possibility of a new protected class. And
I don't think I said it was easy.
That's a big precedent to set.
Did I say it was easy?
Yeah, you did.
That's not what I meant to say.
Well, you were wrong. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was, I thought it was really good legal work. You're establishing a precedent. You're sticking up for people who are being unprotected and unrepresented in that world, and did so in an excellent way. And and all this talk about her emotion, I think the emotion helped it. I think it lends credibility and some humanity to the proceedings, which is all about credibility and humanity. So, congratulations, Jaime Stringer, with your MVL. Coming up next, everybody stretch.
Already famous because you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on
or in
IMDb.
all of the Superman movies.
You're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Yeah, guys, Chris Reeve
Best
here.
guest actor brought to you by GORBACHOW. Feed it to your dog, then it's poop.
But you know what was not poop? The performance of Chris Reeve in this episode. Reeves.
Reeve singular, interestingly. I didn't
Reeve
know
singular. So, great performance. You have to, how do I say this with respect? He's working with a very, very limited physical tool set. Cannot move any part of his body. He has to breathe using a tube, and he moves that chair with his tongue. He has, I believe, slight facial movement ability. I think he can. So he did a lot of eye acting and a lot of intention. Had to use a lot of verbal, and he doesn't even have a full verbal tool set as far as what he can. So what I'm getting at is that a true master of craft, I think, went line by line in everything he had to do, and found exactly how he wanted to say it, where to take his breaths, because he has to rely on a machine to breathe for him. So he had to plan his cadence. A really difficult, and he had to work in tandem with direction, because I think they had to selectively cut around probably some pretty pregnant pauses because of the breathing apparatus. So really difficult. Not only that, but he's dealing with subject matter that I'm sure is very true to life. And I would be is clear that why he was on the writing team, because he could speak from personal experience to what that experience of being 100% totally dependent upon another human for your care.
Yeah.
So all of that is to say that what a traumatic injury did not slow him down as an actor, and we get to see that here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and it's funny because I was leaning towards giving it to Carolyn McCormick, and thus making her our second double oopsie for different characters winners. But when I'm reminded, and this speaks to the achievement that Christopher Reeve did, because I forgot about his limitations. And all the things that he has to overcome to give that performance. When you put it all together, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe he just did that, because I really wasn't even thinking. I was just thinking of him as the character, and I when I really like what he did story wise, and taking the character who you're perceiving all of his limitations, you're perceiving all of his weaknesses, and by the end of the episode, he's in the position of strength. He has taken control over all of these things, and I thought it was interesting and cool. So, congratulations, Christopher Reeve, on the award you never needed, your OOPSY Award for Best Guest Actor. Coming up next.
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Brought to you by GORBACHOW. Your dogs will be rushing to dinner.
Yes, indeed. Take it away, Mike.
You know, Jessica Capshaw, you could easily overplay this arc. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not only could you overplay it, that's one trap. Trap two is that it could also feel rote because of a lot of the different similar subject matter stories we've had around this topic. In other ways we've seen other actresses and play it, it could feel a little rote. And those are two things you do not want to do with a sensitive issue that, as Jaime points out in the episode, affects, what was the statistic at the time? It was crazy. One victim every 6 minutes, something
every
like that?
6 seconds or 6 minutes, something, yeah.
A crazy statistic. So you definitely do not want to make it feel trite in any way, and you also don't want to overdo it into hysterics where it feels exploitative. And I think that she thread that needle and knocked it out of the park. It was the reveal of it. I mean, it was a little on the nose. We knew it was pretty easy to see it coming, but that did not minimize the impact when she let Eugene know. She didn't overdo it in the courtroom. And then that final scene with Lucy was really powerful. And I just think across the board, it was empowering. It was vulnerable. It was really, really carefully crafted performance, respectful. I don't know Jessica's, and whatever personal experience she might bring to it, not important. The performance speaks for itself, and I think that it was moving.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, it's the sad reality that we live in is, the statistics of women who have been sexually assaulted. I mean, we're reaching a point where there's more people who have than haven't been. And it's, stunning. And so regardless of what her relationship with it is, she gave a performance that was entirely believable and heartbreaking and really excellent work. And you can see why she was cast, but also why she has had this career moving forward, because she has access and to that type of vulnerability and that type of strength that she had. I thought she gave a really believable series of turns during her closing with the judge there, and as she was, you saw her as the character make these subtle adjustments to she was enacting a lot. It's really compelling to watch a character fight their emotions as opposed to surrender to them, and we saw a lot of that from Jessica here as she goes to war with the emotions that are coming up, and it's a great, compelling performance in an important piece of storytelling. So congratulations to Jessica Capshaw on your Best Actor. Oopsie! Now it's time for a certain person who doesn't like Microsoft Surface.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Brought to you by GORBACHOW. Your dog's USS are hungry for GORBACHOW.
Nice one. Let's not forget, though, what was it? Something about throwing the ball. Oh, Mr. Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachow, chase
Throw.
down this ball. Yeah.
Mr. Gorbachow, throw me that ball.
This week's award goes to Tom Brady having coffee with a woman who is not Giselle.
Oh, okay. Having coffee with a woman who is not Giselle. Tom Brady wins the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady. Okay, kids.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
Well, guys, I was wrong so many times this episode. I predicted that we were going to have a big reconciliation, and instead, Bobby just doubles down on douching. He's just a double down douche. And at least we introduce a new character who I hope has an arc, but if only was in the episode to be cute and tell Bobby he's an asshole, then hear, hardy hard. That's like, it's almost as if Chris Reeve got into the writer's room and was like, you know what, I have an idea for Bobby, and I want to undo the, you're constantly trying to like make him a hero, David. He's an asshole, and we need a woman to tell him he's an asshole.
It's about time somebody called him on it, yes.
Something to me feels like that David didn't write that one, but who knows? I also... Hold on, I have to take Gorbachev off here, as this is sensitive nature stuff. I also found that it almost feels like there was I don't know the machinations as to why Chris was involved in the episode, but it definitely was not something that was planned far out, I imagine. I imagine it's something that kind of came together.
It's an opportunity that they...
Yes. And so they had to sort of work a bottle episode into a greater arc. And I thought that... I just thought often these rip from the headlines types of things can feel a little... See Law and Order SVU, where they bring... rip from the headlines type of thing, where they bring a guest star in and they write them a crazy arc.
We love you, SVU. Thank you for the residuals.
There was tropes in this as well. Obviously, when they bring the big guest star in, they usually end up being the bad guy. That's generally how it goes.
Yep.
However, they didn't overly try to fool us. The twist was ridiculous, where, all the tropes were there, but it's also TV, and it's also kind of, it's not like we're coming to this for an Academy Award, right? You know what you're getting, and it was giving us good stuff. I thought that they balanced that with, the salacious bit with the wife and the twisty twist was balanced nicely with really impactful performances by Chris Reeve and the Jamie Stringer case, which was not new per se, but I thought it was a great decision to use her and to let her act and not just be this like last minute, I found something on Google that saves the day. Right. They gave her a full
Unasked
episode.
Jeeves.
Not only that, but they used Eugene, I thought, very smartly here in having him as sort of like the heart and soul and the leader of the office now, sort of in the beginning kind of call her for being a little too emotional and for being rash and all these things. And then she's able to reserve her time, reclaim her time. Eugene acquiesces while still being Eugene. They give them a moment of, I'll call it friendship. I think that Eugene would be more emotional, like you were asking, Keith, a little more soft-gloved, but I think he was trying to know his place there. He could only speak as the boss, and so I think he was less friend, shoulder to cry on. I think he made the right move. Is like, you can talk to me. I think he was like, why don't you talk to Lucy? She's trained. I thought that was smart. I liked it. I find it interesting that we do all this to Bobby, but Kelly Williams is nowhere to be seen in the episode. Interesting. Rebecca, not a part. Jimmy was there, but he was just like, he did one of those Jimmy just sit there episodes. Regardless, I was entertained. I was moved. Not setting the world on fire, but compared to some of the episodes we've had, holy crap, this feels like a different show. So I'm going to give it a solid 7.36 spare tires.
Yeah, no, I think that's all. I think that's all right. I mean, I think for me, obviously, the strongest part of this episode was Jaime's story.
Yes.
It does all the stuff that I like the show to do. It calls attention to an injustice happening out there. It brings some of the larger world issues to fore. It does so in a logical and emotionally invested way, and gives the actors an opportunity to knock it out of the park, which they did. And it feels, it's not ahead of its time, but maybe ahead of its time for some, bringing our attention to that and this is 20 years before the Me Too movement, where we really are starting to grapple with the scale of the issue. Because, I think that at that point, sexual assault and rape was a whoa, that's crazy. What a horrible thing to have happen. Luckily, it doesn't happen to hardly anybody. And this episode was, it's not the first to say it, nor will it ever be, but to be actually, no, it's kind of a lot more people than we're aware of. And the consequences for these people go beyond what happened. And if we are going to be punishing the victim in the hiring processes, that doubles down on the crime, and that continues to perpetrate the crime. And we're just now, 20 years later, unraveling some of the spider web of consequences from this type of a thing. And so I love that that's being brought to our attention. And so, yeah, I like that. I like that very much. Could Eugene have been a little bit more compassionate? Yeah, but I do think it's in keeping with Eugene's character, and that he's keeping it professional. He's keeping it in that world, and yet still showing some compassion, maybe more in the subtext than the text, but I felt it there. So, anyway, I like that. The Christopher Reeve story, yeah, it's a little, bad guy of the week, but I really did like what I said before, transitioning this character from somebody that we're sort of naturally set up to feel empathy for, feel pity for, maybe, and then oh no, he is now in control of this whole situation. Where I thought that was interesting. The whole family swap situation is a little silly. It's all a little silly. But for a sort of a pulpy, trashy story of the week, fine. Twisty twist, duh. Obviously, we know we're going to have the twisty twist, and I don't think there's really any way to avoid that. If I had access to Christopher Reeve for an episode, would that be my story? No. I think there's probably a more compelling story to tell with that actor, but I mean, it's clearly what he wanted. He wanted to do that type of a story and to be that type of a character. So, hey, more power to him. So fun. The Bobby thing, my goodness. Again, if we're zooming out a little bit and we're realizing that the show is starting to struggle a little bit, and you might have only 6 more episodes of your show, are you really want to burn it all down with Bobby's character? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen yet between Bobby and this character, but we know that Bobby's little Bobby is very interested in this situation, and I love. Go ahead.
Sorry, just to interject for don't put a pin in where your point is, but not only, I mean, this was a little heavy-handed the way they played it too. It was like they were really forcing us. There's no ambiguity here.
We get it.
That's nothing new. Don't forget in that Black Widow episode, I forget who it was, but somebody was like, "Yo, you like this lady, and you need to stop it." It was either Jimmy or Eugene.
Yeah. And Lindsay called him out on it. Lindsay knew.
Right. Yeah. It's fucked up, man.
I mean, Bobby clearly wants to put his pin in just about everything he can. And it's rough, because if you can, it doesn't take a TV doctor to realize where this might be headed. And it's like, wow, this is how you want to finish the Bobby character or the Bobby arc. If because we don't know at this point, and they didn't know at this point what was going to happen moving forward, but certainly they were in danger of being canceled at this point, and that, woof, ouch.
But you were about to say you love that.
Oh, but I loved, however this goes, I love the beginning with Terry Polo's character just like flat out calling him on his bullshit and flat out calling him on what he was doing, and I loved that. That I was like, yes, thank you. That felt appropriate and right, and I liked it. Made me instantly go from like, oh God, really, to like, oh, I like this character. She's interesting. So all of that said, I actually, especially in context with the rest of this season, I liked it. I liked this episode. So I'm going to give it a 8.1.
Great.
8.1. Pretty solid. Pretty solid indeed. So, Mike, you have 2 minutes to explain our Easter egg before we hop you to your haircut.
Keith, I feel like it's a double dip. I feel like it's not only a Superman nod, Quest for Peace, obviously, but it's also a nod to the near murdered warrior of peace, your mom, whose hubcaps in the Quest for Peace were tampered with.
Oh, and there's a third one, of course, because the Superman 4, the Quest for Peace, was the only other thing that Christopher Reeve wrote on.
Ah, yes.
So there it is, folks. Thank you so much for stumbling through another burned out episode of the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to tell us your thoughts and feelings, and maybe we'll do a whole runner on your YouTube name. So sorry for that. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. While you're there, just for fun, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service of your choice. You can join the jury. We're going to read it. At this point, it's dead. All of our dreams are dead. But if you would like to compensate us for our dead dreams, you can become a founding sponsor and join our amazing benefactors: Jorge Novoa, Cloudlover69, Leanne Wrights, Jennifer Masanova, and Kari Kuhn.
Would you like to pay money to make sure that Mike doesn't get on that plane? Don't make the mistake, Mike. Well, you can donate to that fund by clicking one of the two show notes in our show notes. Links in our show notes? Something like that. One-time donation, blah, 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 blah. You got it. We'd like to thank everybody. Tell a friend. We got a Star Trek show. We'll see you next week. Hopefully I'll be back. If not, I'll be doing it from a ship. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, all you need is Chris Reeves to wheel on in, open those baby blues, and give you those laser eyes.
And if you would like to warm up your GORBACHOW, lasers.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, folks.
Wow. There it is.
Yeah. Haircut.
Haircut.